Last week was the first anniversary of Ashling Murphy's murder. Since then, a further 16 women have been killed on the island of Ireland, including 2 already this year, Bruna Finesca and Maud Coffey. NGOs and campaigners have rightly called this an epidemic of gender-based violence. Over 250 women have been violently killed since 1996, and in the vast majority of resolved cases, they were killed by a man known to them. In half the cases, they were killed by a current or former partner. We need to call this what it is: femicide. Misogyny remains deeply rooted in our society. These murders are just the tip of the iceberg. The epidemic is manifesting countless cases of assaults, domestic violence, torture, coercive control, financial abuse, harassment, stalking, so-called revenge porn. This horrifying list goes on. Last year, there were vigils held across the country. There was a national demand for action. But we have to be honest, what has changed? Women continue to be killed, to live in fear, to message when they're home safely. While this is a really complex issue that needs responses from all of society, there are concrete things that the government can do and must do quicker to confront gender-based violence. These are just some examples. Firstly, we need more refuge spaces. Safe Ireland's pre-budget submission shows that the state is only providing 29% of the required refuge spaces. The Istanbul Convention standard is 1 space per 10,000 people, and Ireland only provides a fraction of that. Cork City and County, with a population of over 500,000, should have 54 spaces. It has 6. I've repeatedly raised this matter. This week, last year, speaking on Ashling Murphy's death, I called for additional funding to provide these refuge spaces. Again, today, I reiterate that call. Next, domestic violence leave. I welcome the legislation bringing in domestic violence leave. However, it's recommended that this leave be up to 10 days annually. Minister, the legislation is only allowing for 5 days, half of what is required. Thirdly, justice system reforms. While there have been some very welcome and much needed changes, victims and survivors are still experiencing hostile systems, and there is still massive underreporting of these crimes. Finally, education, education, education. Our social, personal and health education is scandalously outdated, and as a result, it is harmful. There is an immediate need for education on consent, sexual violence, coercion and online abuse. Shamefully, there are groups and even members of this House opposing these vital reforms. In November 2021, the government delayed the progress of the Social Democrats bill from Deputy Gary Gannon on relationships and sex education. The Minister for Education needs to immediately bring in a new curriculum and training for teachers to provide young people with the skills and knowledge to help them develop respectful, social and sexual relationships. Minister, I do accept that the government is committed to addressing gender-based violence, but to be fair, there is considerably more that could be done today with the political will. One significant step the Minister for Justice can take is to immediately meet those working in the sector, especially organisations like Safe Ireland, Women's Aid and the Dublin Rape Crisis Centre. They're the experts. They know exactly what changes are needed across all government departments and public services. Meet them and listen to them. Just 18 days into the new year, and we've already had 2 killings. This trend cannot be allowed to continue. There's more the government can do, and it must do it now.
Deputy, I mean, like the rest of the country, my thoughts continue to be very much with the loved ones of Ashling Murphy, particularly, as you say, we have just marked the anniversary of her murder. And Minister Harris and I both welcome that you've tabled this issue for discussion, because tackling all forms of domestic, sexual and gender-based violence is and will continue to be a key priority for this government. And I cannot underscore enough the commitment across the government to tackling these hideous crimes and to address the underlying issues. Obviously, as you say, there has to be collaboration with our partners and with all of society to try and prevent all forms of violence against women and to change the problematic attitudes that underpin it. And we're also trying to improve and increase the supports that are available. And we're putting in place new structures to ensure that we can deliver the systems and supports that victims and survivors so badly need. You mentioned about a victim-centred criminal justice system which supports victims from the moment they report a crime right through the court proceedings and beyond. There have to be procedures and processes in place to hold perpetrators to account. There has to be the full range of supports and services that are available to victims of these terrible crimes, regardless of where they live, and that we continue to work with society to educate and raise awareness of all forms of domestic, sexual and gender-based violence, and to enable everyone to question and change problematic behaviours. And over the course of the last year, significant strides have been made in implementing supporting a victim's journey, the plan to improve the experience of vulnerable victims as they engage with the criminal justice system. We want better training for professionals. We want the establishment of course to train intermediaries. There's also the rollout of divisional protective services units at each Garda division. There's the introduction of preliminary trial hearings and the provision of extra funding for organisations supporting victims to address gaps in service provision by type and location. So, I mean, I think the zero tolerance strategy that Helen McEntee has launched, obviously it's a 5-year ambitious whole of government strategy, and we all know the headings: protection, prevention, prosecution, policy coordination. It was developed in partnership with the domestic, sexual and gender-based violent partners and that sector. So they have had direct input into it, which I think will help. There's 144 actions. They have to be delivered. I think the legislation that Minister Harris is bringing forward as well, the increasing the maximum incentive for assault causing harm, I think he's doubling that from 5 years to 10. The monitoring of sex offenders, strengthening victims' rights, making stalking and non-fatal strangulation a standalone offence. And you mentioned as well, Deputy, specifically around refuge spaces. And I know that that's something that you've been advocating on for quite some time. That has started and will continue. I think, you know, from my own perspective, I think one of the areas that struck me that you mentioned there is around underreporting. I mean, I grew up in a very different era to you, Deputy, and I think there's still underreporting. There was certainly a lot of underreporting in my day, and it's continuing. Even this morning, I went for a spin class just very near where I live, and I was crossing the road afterwards in my cycle shorts, and I was verbally abused by a man coming towards me. I actually got such a shock that I didn't even think it was directed towards me until I got into my car and he continued it. I reported that incident today. Now, maybe 20 or 30 years ago, I wouldn't have reported that because that's what we do as victims. We feel, you know, we're being silly, you know, we feel stupid maybe doing it. But if we don't tackle it, that type of misogyny at something, you know, if you want to say as basic as that, even though it's completely unacceptable, it's not a murder like Ashling Murphy, and you know it runs the gamut. But that's what's happening in society. So we have to stamp it out. And I said to myself, if we're talking about a strategy, then I have to embody it too and have a zero tolerance approach. We all have to. And it takes men as well. If they see that happening, if they see conversations happening that aren't acceptable towards women, they need to call that out as well. And we all have to play our part. Thank you.
Thank you for your response and for outlining all the actions that the government has been taking. And thank you for telling your story about today as well, and well done. You're right, it absolutely needs to be done. And a key point that you raised is that for too long, only half the population have been having this conversation. Girls and women know this reality inside out. We need structures and resources, I think, to help men have these necessary discussions as well. Domestic violence and sexual assaults are perpetrated by friends, colleagues, teammates. Inappropriate behaviours and harassment needs to be challenged by both genders. And an example, I think, of is UCC's Bystander Intervention Programme is a really impressive initiative that gives people the tools to recognise and safely act in response to those kind of everyday situations like the one you highlighted today. And it is being implemented in other universities as well. But it's the type of thing we need for sports clubs, that kind of training for community organisations and for professional bodies as well. And the government maybe could look at providing the instruments for men to have those conversations as well. And just finally, I have to come back to the work of support organisations like West Cork Women Against Domestic Violence. It's an organisation run on a shoestring budget and yet provides an incredible range of assistive and life-saving services in many instances. They help women and children exit dangerous situations. They've got a helpline. They offer court and professional appointment accompaniment. They're advocates. They have outreach clinics and training programs for young people and adults, because we all need to learn about these issues. This is the work being done by just one organisation, and it's replicated by regional and national bodies all over the country. Imagine what they could do with proper government funding. There already is a network of on-the-ground organisations who are known and trusted by highly vulnerable people, and I just can't emphasise enough the importance of work directly with the Minister and those organisations, to engage with them, to fund them, to trust them and the difference that they make every single day. And just a final point, if you'll let me, Chair, is that what you spoke about, how more and more we're seeing people report these crimes and how good that is and generationally. But just to take cases of rape as an isolated one outside of all of the other gender-based violence, less than 1% of victims get justice. So even though we've moved some bit forward, it is important for us to recognise how far we have to go. Less than 1%. Thank you, Caoirleach.
And thank you for your advocacy in this regard. And you know, I can hear the passion when you talk about this particular area. I mean, domestic violence has increased. It has doubled actually in the last 15 years. And certainly in my previous life as a family lawyer, I dealt with a lot of women and some men actually who were victims of domestic violence. And the criminal justice system itself, I know Sarah Grace has spoken very eloquently on that. And I think, certainly I could say in part, but I think to a large extent, a lot of victims didn't go forward because of their fear of the criminal justice system and facing that. And the fact that we now have Garda training, I think, will help a lot, and the Gardaí are better equipped how to deal with it. Judges also need training to deal with victims, to make it more victim-friendly and victim-centred, so that there isn't that fear, and that also that the woman is believed primarily. I mean, when you think of a lot of the legislation that we brought in this area, like Coco's Law has come in, there's now legislation around coercive control that you mentioned, there's legislation around consent that didn't even exist when I was growing up. So, like, we have made huge strides, but obviously this is something, as they call it in France, the Grand Cause National over there. It's something that's never going to go away. And we have to stop it at its grassroots level before it becomes something really violent, like what happened to Ashling and to the other women, the other over 200 women that have died since 1996. But thank you for your efforts in this, and I know that Minister Harris has a zero tolerance approach to domestic, sexual and gender-based violence, as does this government, and I, for my part, will continue to advocate also. Thank you.